Hey there and welcome to Scandal Steep. The case of Sonya Massey is one of those deeply perplexing incidents that defies all logic and sense of justice. How does a woman, who seeks police protection in her own home, end up becoming a victim of the very people sworn to protect her? It seems unbelievable, but that's exactly what happened to Sonya. Her story is riddled with tragic twists, but perhaps the most heartbreaking part is that we've all seen this scenario play out before. Time and again, we hear about law enforcement officers using deadly force on unsuspecting citizens for little or no reason at all. The worst part? Hardly anyone is ever held accountable for these actions. However, Sonya Massey's case might be different. It's now being investigated by the FBI. And the disturbing details that have surfaced about the incident are truly hard to believe. Let's unravel the events that led to Sonya Massey's tragic death, starting from the very beginning. Sonya was just a woman at home, living her life as anyone else would, when she heard some noise coming from outside her house. As any person living alone might feel, she became frightened by the possibility of an intruder. Seeking help, she dialed 911, hoping that the police would protect her from whatever threat lurked outside. Two officers responded to her call, arriving at her home to check on her. From the footage later released to the public, everything seemed to be fine at first. But one of those officers, Deputy Shawn Grayson, had a dark past, one that would make anyone question how he was still on the force. Grayson's background is disturbing. He had such a long history of erratic behavior that anyone who knew him might wonder why he wasn't already behind bars. Like so many other cases involving officers with questionable records, Grayson needed only the slightest provocation to resort to violence. In this instance, all Sonya had to say was, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus." That's it. Those words, combined with the fact that she held a cooking pot, were enough to set Grayson off. According to his version of events, he feared that Sonya was going to attack him with the pot. He began yelling at her, "You better not, or I swear to God I'll shoot you in your face." It's almost unfathomable that a few words and a harmless kitchen utensil could lead to such a tragic outcome, but that's what happened. In the face of this terrifying situation, Sonya did nothing to provoke further violence. She tried to defuse the situation by hiding behind a counter and even apologized, saying she didn't mean any harm. But it was too late. Grayson fired 3 shots in quick succession, one of them hitting Sonya in the head. The officer, whose duty was to serve and protect, not only shot an innocent woman but then told his fellow officers not to provide her with medical aid. "Headshot, man, she's done," Grayson reportedly said. His lack of remorse and outright disdain for Sonya's life is chilling. He later stated in his report that he feared Sonya would throw boiling water at him, justifying his deadly use of force. But from the footage and eyewitness accounts, it's clear that Sonya posed no threat. She was unarmed, frightened, and apologizing, far from the dangerous criminal Grayson made her out to be. The truth is, if this entire incident hadn't been caught on camera, it might have been dismissed as another unfortunate tragedy, swept under the rug like so many others. But thanks to the recording, the world now knows the truth about what happened to Sonya Massey. She wasn't just another statistic. She was a real person with dreams, fears, and a family that loved her dearly. Sonya had 2 children, 17-year-old Malachi and 15-year-old Jeanette. Her kids meant everything to her, and from the way they speak about her, it's obvious how much she meant to them as well. Malachi, Sonya's son, described his mother as a ball of love. She was always there for her family, cooking the best meals and bringing energy and warmth to those around her. Her children loved her deeply, and the sudden loss of their mother in such a senseless way has left them devastated. Malachi even said that it doesn't feel real and that he never imagined his mother would die in this manner. Sonya had been battling lupus and was in the final stages of kidney disease, so Malachi thought if anything were to happen to her, it would be due to her illness, not an act of violence. Sonya's mental health had also been a concern in the days leading up to the incident. Her family noticed that she had become paranoid, believing that something terrible was going to happen to her. Despite her struggles, they were doing their best to get her the help she needed. In fact, they had recently decided that her children would stay with their father while Sonya sought treatment. But before that plan could unfold, tragedy struck. The death of Sonya Massey has sparked yet another conversation about police brutality and the treatment of black people, particularly black women, by law enforcement. Many believe that Sonia's death isn't just about her and Officer Grayson, but about a larger issue: how the police treat people of color, especially those who are vulnerable due to mental health issues. Sonya was a black woman with documented mental health struggles, trying to get better. The system failed her in every possible way. In the aftermath of the incident, rumors swirled that there may have been a cover-up within the police department. According to one of the Massey family's attorneys, Ben Crump, when he arrived at the scene, the officers never mentioned that it was a deputy who shot Sonya. They claimed the situation was under investigation and downplayed the involvement of law enforcement. If not for the camera footage, Crump believes the officers would have lied their way out of any accountability. This raises even more disturbing questions. Why would the police try to cover up the fact that one of their own shot an innocent woman? Did they know that Grayson was a ticking time bomb but allowed him to remain on the force anyway? Grayson's history certainly suggests that he was unfit for duty. In just 4 years, he bounced between 6 different police departments. He had been charged with 2 duos while on the job, one in 2015 and another in 2016. In the first incident, Grayson was driving under the influence with weapons in the car while serving in the Army. After the second DUI, the military finally had enough and discharged him. Despite his checkered past, police departments continued to hire him, even though he had proven time and again how dangerous he could be. In one incident, he disobeyed orders during a high-speed chase, going 101 miles per hour and ultimately crashing into a deer. Yet, all he received was a slap on the wrist. The tragedy surrounding Sonya Massey's case brings to light deeper issues within law enforcement, particularly how people of color, especially black women, are treated in moments of vulnerability. Despite being a woman in mental distress, Sonia's plea for help ended in her death, exposing systemic flaws in how officers handle such cases. Her story is a heartbreaking reminder that many individuals face the worst consequences of a system meant to protect them. As her family mourns, they continue to seek justice, pushing for accountability and reform in a police force that, far too often, escapes the consequences of its actions. Sonia's life was more than a statistic. She was a mother, a friend, and a person with dreams and struggles, like anyone else. The fight for justice in her case has only just begun, as her family, led by prominent lawyers and supported by the public, strives to ensure that her death will not be in vain. The conversation surrounding Sonia's tragic end is far from over, with continued demands for accountability, transparency, and reform.